Hey top driver, and welcome to this brand new video. I'm ADT Esports, and today I want to share with you my first impressions of the new F1 2025. Let's jump right in by saying that this new edition immediately feels much more solid, engaging, and well executed than the previous one. I'm convinced we're going to have even more fun this year, and we're in for some truly spectacular championships, full of wheel-to-wheel battles. That's why I strongly recommend you get off on the right foot and start training now, so you can make this your best season ever on F1 2025. I took a few hours with my team to run some deep, full-spectrum testing on different aspects of the game, from driving technique to ERS management, setups, track approach, and other key factors. So let's dive into the heart of this content with our very first real impressions of F1 2025. Let's begin with driving technique, specifically braking. Braking in F1 2025 feels noticeably different from F1 24. In some situations, it's definitely more demanding. As always, the initial phase, especially when braking in a straight line, requires a very sharp attack. You have to hit that 100% brake pressure quickly, but compared to F1 24, trail braking plays a much bigger role here, especially in the second phase of braking, when you start to add steering angle. At that point, trail braking becomes absolutely essential, particularly because the brake bias is now slightly more rearward. This shift makes trail braking a truly effective tool for getting the car to rotate well at corner entry. But as you get closer to the apex, you need to release the brakes very quickly, sometimes down to a minimal pressure or into a full transition off. Compared to last year's title, drill braking is making a strong comeback, but this time it demands much more precision, both in how you apply pressure and in how you release it. Even a small lockup can significantly throw off your line into the corner and ruin the entire lap. You really have to watch out for lockups under braking, which are more frequent this season, and every single lockup takes an even bigger toll on tire wear. On the broader topic of driving dynamics, I've noticed that F1 2025 demands even more precision than F1 24. This is a game changer. Missing the apex even slightly in certain corners can cost you a lot of time and upset the car's dynamic balance. If you then try to correct mid-corner to get back on the ideal line, you lose even more time and end up accelerating tire wear. So, compared to the previous game, you now need to drive cleaner, more surgically. Before, you could get away with attacking the braking zone more aggressively and then adjusting your line as you approach the apex. That strategy no longer works. Now, you need to be pinpoint precise right from the start of corner entry, especially because, as we'll see in a moment, traction is more linear, but it also has a bigger impact on lap time. In many cases, we've noticed that track limits are slightly more forgiving, which allows us to attack the circuit more aggressively, just like in real-life racing. But more importantly, it lets us drive with greater confidence, fully expressing our potential without constantly fearing the dreaded 3-second penalty. Staying on the topic of driving precision required by F1 25, it's also worth reflecting on racing lines. After testing on several circuits, we've seen that ideal lines can vary slightly, especially in how you approach certain corners. In some cases, it's better to hit the apex a bit earlier, both in terms of pure racing line and in terms of technique, meaning the exact moment when you initiate the first steering input into the corner. This helps you maintain speed, stay accurate, and execute your trail braking more effectively. We've also noticed an improvement in how the car behaves over certain curbs. On many corners, you can now ride the inside curb more aggressively without upsetting the car's balance, and that can make a big difference in overall uptime. However, you have to be careful with the outside curbs, especially if you hit them with too much throttle and too much steering angle. In those situations, the car can snap into oversteer, suddenly and violently losing grip, which is hard to recover. That's why it's essential to focus on realigning the wheel smoothly as you exit the corner. It's key to getting good traction, clean rotation, and above all, keeping the car stable. Now let's talk about car weight and load transfer. These transfers are more pronounced now, especially during quick direction changes and under braking, particularly when using heavy trail braking. If executed properly, this technique allows you to carry impressive speed into the corner and reach the apex with solid rotation. But if you overdo the braking, the car may start to slide laterally on all 4 tires, costing you valuable tenths. Mastering load transfer and knowing how to manage it on track is absolutely fundamental. The most experienced drivers will be able to capitalize on how vividly this dynamic is rendered. As for downshifting, timing is still everything. If you hammer down the gears too fast, like a machine gun, there's a good chance they won't engage properly, and that throws off your entire braking phase. You need to downshift with rhythm, giving the engine braking system time to do its job efficiently. Even though engine braking no longer has a dedicated setting in the setup menu, its impact on car behavior is even more significant now. Knowing how to harness it is a crucial skill for achieving strong lap times. Gear management during the lap also demands more attention. Being in the right gear at both corner entry and during traction phases is absolutely vital, probably even more so than in F124. So you need to be mindful of both the downshifts and the upshifts. They won't always give you the advantages you might expect. On top of that, compared to the previous edition, the timing of the shift between 7th and 8th gear is especially critical when accelerating. When shifting from 7th to 8th gear, unlike in F1 2024, where you could hold 7th all the way up to 310 km per hour, F1 2025 behaves quite differently. It still depends on the specific car, but what really stands out is that 8th gear no longer acts as a ceiling, especially when running high downforce setups. So it actually makes sense to use 8th gear even for short straights, because unlike in F1 24, where the gear would cap out and stall acceleration, in F1 25, the car keeps gaining speed. This translates into a real lap time advantage and could even change the way we approach certain high-speed corners. Now let's talk about traction. Compared to F1 24, it has evolved significantly and is now even more crucial to achieving competitive lap times. It feels cleaner, more linear, and seemingly easier to handle. But that doesn't mean it automatically plays in your favor. You need a very assertive throttle application at the point of initial engagement to generate quick rotation. Immediately afterward, you have to realign the steering wheel swiftly so you can get to full throttle in a smooth yet rapid motion. That's what delivers strong corner exits and serious acceleration. As always though, there are pros and cons. At first, it might feel like the car is more stable, because yes, you can get on the throttle more confidently. It seems harder to lose the rear end. But precisely because you're getting on the power earlier, if your throttle input or steering realignment isn't accurate, you're at risk of a sudden loss of grip. The resulting oversteer can be severe, especially, as mentioned earlier, if you touch the outside curb while exiting a corner. We've also noticed other key differences from the previous installment. Tire wear has increased, and your driving style now affects degradation even more. You'll need to pay close attention to your precision, your trail braking, and any slight wheel spin on corner exit. All of these elements don't just hurt lap times, they significantly accelerate tire wear. From the data we've analyzed regarding slipstream and dirty air, it looks like slipstream effect has been slightly reduced, while dirty air has become more impactful when following another car closely. As a result, running in a train or tailing someone tightly is trickier now because you lose grip and precision, and your tires heat up and wear out faster. It also seems that some advanced steering wheel settings have changed, particularly steering angle and how it affects your driving style. I suggest experimenting with different configurations, even varying your angle from track to track. It's an important factor, especially in race conditions. We'll be diving deeper into these details in future content. The same goes for ERS. We're still thoroughly analyzing how it's managed in F1 25, but we've already noticed differences in deployment, derating, and hybrid energy recovery phases. You'll be getting a dedicated video on that soon to help you master ERS in both qualifying and race scenarios. Now let's touch on setups. You've probably already noticed that setups in F1 25 are very different from those in F1 24. The changes come from aerodynamics, aero balance, and also mechanical balance, which varies quite a bit depending on the circuit. Tire pressures have also changed significantly, affecting the car's entire dynamic behavior. This means you'll need to pay a lot more attention during setup development. The good news is that you can achieve great lap times even by exploring different setup philosophies. That's all for now, but we'll be back in the next videos, where I'll go deep into advanced wheel settings, pad setups, camera views, tire management, ERS strategies, and everything else related to F1 2025. Take care, I'll see you in the next one, and as always, when in doubt, keep your foot down. See you, top driver.